Thursday, March 31st. How's everyone doing? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with this Science News 2022. So, we've seen all that. Terrifying discovery at Yellowstone National Park changes everything. Let's try that.
Many people think space is full of fearful things, which is true. However, you don't need to hop on a space rocket to find something that will scare the living daylight out of you, because they're about here on Earth. And because they're here on this planet, many of these terrifying things can affect you. One huge example is the latest terrifying thing that scientists just uncovered at the Yellowstone National Park. What is it, and how does it affect you anywhere in the world that you might live?
Oh, no.
Join us as we dive into the scientists' terrifying new discovery at Yellowstone National Park. The US is a truly huge place, covering 3.8 million square miles. Within that large landmass are uncountable natural attractions that receive visits from millions of people worldwide. They include lakes, waterfalls, deserts, and so forth. However, among these attractions, the government has carved out some for special attention because of their importance. These are the national parks, really vast wonders of nature. The US Congress made Yellowstone the first national park in America in 1872. In the years that followed, environmentalists lobbied for wilderness preservation throughout the American West to create several more national parks and monuments. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson established the National Park Service to consolidate America's federal parklands management under one agency. Today, the National Park Service manages 84 million.
One agency. So there we go with the central bankers using the government to slowly but surely consolidate everything.
Acres across all US states and territories, an area bigger than the whole territory of Germany. These parks, numbering 423,
Okay. Let me back up right there. That's something that
wilderness preservation throughout the American West
That's
to
something I wanna
create
talk
several
about.
more national parks and monuments. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson established the National Park Service to consolidate America's federal parklands management under one agency. Today, the National Park Service manages 84 million acres across all US states and territories, an area bigger than the whole territory of Germany. These parks, numbering 400...
Okay, those right there. You know, they're called the mesas, and they have all these weird names. And I'm gonna go with the mesa. Let's just refer to them right now as mesa for the sake of getting through this. Okay, so this area right here, the Southwest, is supposedly where they find all these large ancient reptiles, which a lot of globheads are like, yeah, you know, what you guys call dinosaurs or whatnot, right? You want to call them dinosaurs. Now, you have large reptiles. They also believe, globheads and statists also believe in large ancient birds. Okay. Reptiles and birds need trees, and this area is supposedly where they found so many of these most of the large dinosaurs have been supposedly discovered in this area. Now what's funny is that you have large ancient birds, large ancient reptiles, and those would need large ancient trees. It's that simple. You would need, in order, birds and reptiles need trees. So, and it baffles my mind when it's obvious that they need trees and bushes and a large ancient forest. Okay? It's obvious that they would need that in order for them to survive. So, having said that, and moving forward, and adding the fact that I've seen petrified wood. I've been to a petrified forest before. They're pretty they're well known out here in California. And so if you look at one of these petrified at the small petrified forest, they literally look like these mesas. They look exactly like these mesas, only way much larger, of course. So it baffles my mind that globe heads and statists can't accept that there could have been large ancient trees, and for that matter, large ancient humanoids. Why not? Why can't there be large ancient humanoids? Oh no, that's large ancient giants. No, that's not real. But giant reptiles, yeah, that's real. Giant birds, yeah, that's real. I'm not even bringing up the ocean, because the ocean is just, wow. If you guys want to talk about aliens, the ocean is full of them. And maybe you should define the word alien.
23 have served as a model for countries around the world. Out of all the parks designated as national in the US, the Yellowstone was the most visited in 2020, with almost 4 million visitors. There are enough attractions in the Yellowstone to keep people coming back. Sprawling across a basalt plateau in the northwest corner of the state of Wyoming, this magnificent wilderness area spills into neighboring Idaho and Montana. It forms the heart of the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, one of the world's largest and best preserved temperate zone ecosystems. As one of Wyoming's top attractions, this park is famous for its spectacular scenery, diverse ecosystems, and fascinating geothermal wonders. Yellowstone is home to the world's largest number of active geysers and offers a window into the powerful forces deep beneath the Earth's crust, the same forces that shaped this park and its dazzling and dramatic landscapes.
Crust? Like pizza?
The scenery ranges from snaking rivers and sweeping green valleys to vast lakes, canyons, thundering waterfalls, and hissing lunar-like landscapes. Each season paints a dramatically different scene, from the lush greens and sparkling blues of spring and summer, when you can spot herds of bison and elk grazing along the riverbanks, to fall's fiery reds, oranges, and golds when fearsome grizzlies and black bears gorge on berries, to the white wonderland of the freezing winter. A visit to Yellowstone is not complete without a stopover at the geyser known as Old Faithful. It is named for the regularity with which it erupted, shooting columns of water high up into the air from between 35 minutes to 120 minutes, with an average interval of about 92 minutes. Not far from the Old Faithful is the Black Sand Basin, one of the most colorful spots in the park. You can also hike on the Mount Washburn Trail, or take in the sights of the awe-inspiring Grand Canyon and the upper and lower falls. However, one of the biggest attractions in Yellowstone is the volcanic system, and this is where things get scary. Many visitors to Yellowstone might not know this, but the volcanic events in the park can affect everything in every part of the planet, as you shall soon see. We begin our story of the Yellowstone volcanic system about 66 million years ago, when the Cenozoic era started. The area now...
666 million years ago? Oh, I'm sorry, 66. They're missing a 6 right there. It'd be more believable if they just added a third 6.
Occupied by the park was sculpted by widespread mountain-forming volcanic events. However, rumblings have continued underneath our feet to this day. Magma, the molten rock that you find below the Earth's crust, is close to the surface in the Greater Yellowstone area. This shallow body of magma is caused by heat convection in the mantle. Consequently, plumes of magma rise.
No one's ever been to the damn mantle. That's totally an imaginary place. It's like a Catholic talking about hell.
Through the mantle, melting rocks in the crust and creating magma reservoirs of partially molten, partially solid rock. Mantle plumes transport heat from deep in the mantle to the crust and create hot spot volcanism. These hot spots leave a trail of volcanic activity as tectonic plates drift over them. As the North American plate drifted westward over the last 16.5 million years, the hotspot that now resides under the Greater Yellowstone area left a swathe of volcanic deposits across Idaho's Snake River Plain. The heat rising from the mantle plume has melted rocks in the crust and created 2 magma chambers of partially molten, partially solid rock near Yellowstone's surface. The heat from the shallowest magma chamber caused an area of the crust above it to expand and rise. Stress on the overlying crust resulted in increased earthquake activity along newly formed faults. Eventually, these faults reached the magma chamber and magma oozed through the cracks. When the magma escaped, it released pressure within the chamber, allowing volcanic gases to escape and expand explosively in a massive volcanic eruption. The eruption spewed an enormous amount of volcanic ash and gas into the atmosphere and produced fast, superhot debris flows or pyroclastic flows over the landscape.
Gravity.
With the underground magma chamber emptying, the ground above it collapsed and created the first of Yellowstone's 3 calderas. This eruption happened 2.1 million years ago and easily ranked among the largest volcanic eruptions known to man. It covered 5,790 square miles with ash, reaching as far away as Missouri. For context, the total volcanic material ejected is estimated to have been 6,000 times the volume of material ejected during the
You know what's funny? That when you see these big old volcanic eruptions, it's matter that's supposedly being added into the atmosphere, yet you see no Coriolis effect. Derp.
1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington. A second significant volcanic eruption would occur about 800,000 years later. However, it was smaller and occurred within the western edge of the first caldera. A third and last massive volcanic eruption occurred 631,000 years ago and created the present 30 by 44 mile wide Yellowstone caldera. Since then, 80 minor eruptions have occurred, and the one that happened about 174,000 years ago created what is now the west thumb of Yellowstone Lake. During and after these explosive eruptions, massive lava flows of viscous rhyolitic lava and less voluminous basalt lava flows partially filled the caldera floor and surrounding terrain. The youngest of these lava flows is the 70,000-year-old pitchstone rhyolite flow in the southwest corner of Yellowstone National Park. Since
my induction stovetop that's how it heats up water. Exactly like Old Faithful. The induction stovetop, what it does is it concentrates and is very effective and efficient. What it does, it concentrates the heat onto the pan through the bottom because of the specific metal that's used for that to happen. And as the water boils, it's not a constant boil. It's not a constant boil. What it's doing is actually it boils and stops, boils and stops, boils and stops periodically.
The last of 3 caldera-forming eruptions, pressure from the shallow magma body has formed 2 resurgent domes inside the Yellowstone caldera. Magma may be as little as 3 to 8 miles beneath Sour Creek Dome and 8 to 12 miles beneath Mallard Lake Dome, and both domes inflate and subside as the volume of magma and hydrothermal fluids changes.
Show me the dome. Where's the dome? They're so stupid.
Beneath them. The entire caldera floor lifts up or subsides too, but not as much as the 2 domes. In the past century, the net inflation has tilted the caldera floor toward the south. As a result, Yellowstone Lake's southern shores have subsided and trees now stand in water, and the north end of the lake has risen into a sandy beach and fishing bridge. Is the Yellowstone volcano active today? The answer is yes. Remarkable ground deformation has been documented along the central axis of the caldera between Old Faithful and White Lake in Pelican Valley in historic time. Surveys of suspected ground deformation began in 1975 using vertical motion surveys of benchmarks in the ground. By 1985, the surveys documented unprecedented uplift of the entire caldera above a meter. Later, GPS measurements revealed that the caldera went into an episode of subsidence or sinking until 2005, when the caldera returned to an episode of extreme uplift. The most significant vertical movement was recorded at the White Lake GPS station inside the caldera's eastern rim.
Okay, so you have frequencies that are basically waves. Okay, then beyond that you have earthquakes, right, which are basically waves. This whole oscillation thing is what is how reality actually works and runs. if you stop and think about it. When you ask about the tides and waves, that's funny. All of this is tide. All you see that the land does this. You see the water, the ocean does this, the salt water specifically, and you see this. You see this happen everywhere. It's like a heartbeat. It's like we're on a like reality is powered by a heartbeat, and if you question how the heart works, it's totally electromagnetic and dielectric.
Where the total uplift from 2004 to 2010 was about 27 centimeters. However, what happens if Yellowstone's volcano erupts again? The picture isn't pretty. The effect will be felt worldwide, but of course, the closer you are to Yellowstone, the more you are affected. This event can be 1,000 times more powerful than a regular volcanic eruption, eject at least 240 cubic miles of material, and last weeks or months. The lava flows themselves will be contained within a relatively small radius within the park, say 40 miles or so. In fact, only about 1/3 of the material will end up in the atmosphere. However, the main damage will come from volcanic ash, a combination of splintered rock and glass. This will shoot miles into the air and scatter.
That's another thing right there. So the ancients believed that there was a dome around us. And if you go out in the middle of nowhere, or like outside of the city, and you look up at night, and on a clear night, that Milky Way looks pretty. It's pretty big and awesome. It's awe-inspiring. It's actually, and to be honest, it's kind of scary. It looks like a big scar or like a big crack or something like that. So, and that, I'm just saying what it looks like. I'm just describing what it looks like, right? And so you take that, and then you take into consideration that glass falls from the sky, as they just said it right here. Especially when it's real easy how that happens. I mean, you have all this dust and magnetic, metallic, particulate matter floating in the atmosphere, and then it comes across an electromagnetic body or a field, and boom, there it just that's meteorites, and that's how all of that's formed. That's what comes from the sky. No, and a big old asteroid is never gonna come down and smash us. Like a mountain's coming from the sky and smashes us and kills off all the supposedly all the dinosaurs died or blah blah blah. I have no reason to believe any of that. Meteorites is real simple, exactly like I said right now. You have metallic particulate matter that's up in the atmosphere because of these type of events, and then after a while of that just floating around, it starts clumping up, and eventually it falls down. It's that simple. It's not that hard. But yeah, the ancients, the whole thing about there being a glass dome around us, that's totally, I could easily see why the ancients believed such a myth.
Around the country, a super eruption can conceivably bury the northern Rockies in 3 feet of ash, basically devastating large swathes of Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, Montana, and Utah. Meanwhile, the Midwest will get a few inches of ash, while both coasts will see even smaller amounts. This volcanic ash is toxic and can kill people, plants, and animals. It will even crush buildings. Even a few inches of ash can destroy farms, clog roadways, cause severe respiratory problems, block sewer lines, and even short out transformers. Air travel will stop in much of North America. What about globally? A big volcanic eruption in Yellowstone will significantly affect the global climate. Volcanoes can emit sulfur aerosols that reflect sunlight back into the atmosphere and cool the climate. These particles cannot survive for long in the atmosphere, so the effect is only temporary, but it can still be dramatic. For example, when Pinatubo erupted in 1991, it cooled the planet by 1 degree Celsius or 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit for a few years. The Tambora eruption in 1815 was worse because it cooled the Earth enough to damage crops around the world, likely causing famines in some areas. Bear in mind that those were relatively tiny eruptions compared to what a supervolcano in Yellowstone is capable of. Globally, the eruption will cause trillions of dollars worth of damage. However, you don't need to fear or fret because of a Yellowstone volcanic eruption. Right now, there's no sign of a pending eruption. Sure, Yellowstone Park continues to get earthquakes and the ground rises and falls, but that is nothing out of the ordinary. Yellowstone has been behaving like that for the past 140 years. The odds are very high that Yellowstone will be eruption-free for the coming centuries. Also, if you look at the past 3 eruptions, the odds of Yellowstone erupting in any given year are 0.00014%, lower than the odds of getting hit by an asteroid from space.
Oh, God.
But even that is not a good estimate because it's not certain that Yellowstone erupts on a regular cycle or that it's overdue for another eruption. In fact, there might never be a big eruption in Yellowstone again. Let's hear what you think of a potential...
Maybe it never actually erupted to begin with. It's funny how they act like they know this really happened. They have no clue if that really happened or not. I mean, they have no proof that that really happened or not. It's all based on assumption. Oh, wow.
Telescopes in space. The latest one to be launched is the James Webb Space Telescope, which will help to unlock some of the deep secrets of the universe. One of the places it will investigate is the planet Proxima B, where it may make a terrifying discovery of aliens. What exactly will the JWST see on Proxima B? How will it make the discovery? And how will it change how we see space? If you've ever wondered why humans are here, you're in good company, as we've been looking for the answer for millennia. Another vexing question is whether we're alone in the universe. Are there aliens out there wondering whether they're alone?
None of that makes sense. Mathematically speaking, that just doesn't make sense. That, oh, wow, out of all the globus, celestial spheres, that you're... First and foremost, I have no reason to assume or to believe, as I look up into the night sky, that we are part of that. That we are one of those small lights. I have no reason to believe that at all. No reason at all. That's just like you're trying to equate yourself to the heavens above. We don't know what the sky is. I've never been out there. I doubt anyone ever will. That you or yourself know. This is just like, it's ridiculous to even believe that, that we are one of those lights. That is hilarious. I don't know what the light. I see. A lot of people assume they look into the night sky, and they look at the cartoons that they've been growing up to watch, and look at and indoctrinated to believe that is reality, and they're like, why are we the only ones that would be a square or a flat pancake or a donut or hollow or whatever? That makes no sense. Okay? There's no reason to believe we're part of the sky. That just doesn't make sense. Unless you've been, worshiping the state. And the state's telling us exactly what President Nixon said when it was televised on the Apollo mission when they landed. And right after he said this is one small step and jumped off, and President Nixon supposedly talked to him on the phone, and then President Nixon tells Buzz, or whoever it was that he was talking to, and tells him, what you have done is you have made the heavens part of man's world. Exactly, those were his exact words. Talking about heaven and stuff. Nixon, a piece of shit president that was impeached, that was a liar, a known liar, and a thief. He was a thief. Everyone knows this. And so I have no reason to believe any of that.
In the universe too, are they trying to establish contact with us? Are they even watching us? These are questions that we have spent billions of dollars on, but since we haven't found conclusive answers, we continue to spend billions in our search. The latest effort...
Why? Why are they spending billions of dollars? Like, what about they said they want to end hunger, end poverty, end homelessness, and global catastrophes and global this and global that and global. But yet they're spending tons of money, billions of money, to stare at the sky in hope that some God is going to answer them. That is ridiculous. That's just as stupid as the Catholics.
It is the James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, which represents the best technology in space observation. That technology has come at a huge price, because we are talking of almost $10 billion spent on developing and launching the Space Observation Station. With the launch of the JWST, which was fraught with tension due to the immense complexities behind it, the telescope has settled into its orbit and is being calibrated and configured in preparation for its job taking images of the universe. The JWST has sent home new photos showing the latest significant milestone for the Space Observatory. The 18 composite mirrors are now aligned enough to act as a single, albeit massive mirror. The new images released by NASA include a selfie from JWST showing the mirror's progress. Also included were updated photos of a single star. Since reaching its final orbit, the telescope's combined 18 mirrors have been focused on the lone star HD 84406, which the researchers are using as a target to align the mirrors. Last month's images showed 18 images of the star that were captured individually on each mirror segment. NASA's latest snapshot of HD 84406 shows what it looks like when all 18 mirrors work together with the near-infrared camera, or NIRCam. The space agency was able to capture not only an image of the star, but also distant galaxies behind the star too. The JWST's selfie shows all the 18 mirrors collecting light from the same star. It was taken using a specialized lens that the engineering team back on Earth uses to confirm the mirrors are working as intended. With all the mirrors aligned, they can work together as a unit to begin capturing images of distant stars, galaxies, and even pictures from 13.6 billion light years away, more or less the baby photos of the universe.
That model is so stupid.
Lens that the engineering team back on Earth uses to confirm the mirrors are working as intended.
Honestly, that model is so dumb.
With all the mirrors aligned, they can work together as a unit to begin capturing images of distant stars, galaxies, and even pictures from 13.6...
See right there. Okay? Do you guys see the edge? There's an edge to all that. That Big Bang expansion model, cartoon model, is the most stupidest thing ever. Everything is supposedly going in one direction. When that directly contradicts what they say, that they don't have an edge. I mean, you could see an edge right there. What's beyond the line of those edge, of the edge of that expansion? That looks like a big pill, or a big one of those like hot dog balloons. You know those long balloons? That's what it looks like. I want to know what's beyond the edge. So stupid.
Billion light years away, more or less the baby photos of the universe. Work continues over the next 6 weeks as NASA prepares the JWST to begin its science work finally. Next on the menu are aligning instruments, including the near-infrared spectrograph, mid-infrared instrument, near-infrared imager, and slitless spectrograph. JWST will start to conduct its final checks and make any last-minute adjustments. According to NASA, the alignment process is still on track and will conclude by early May, after which the telescope becomes available for scientific observations. The agency also reported that the telescope's first set of images and scientific data would be released in the summer. Apart from taking infant photos of the universe, the JWST will help search for exoplanets. These planets are so distant and awkwardly placed that it is difficult to detect them. Since they are hard to see, why are scientists interested in them? Because they may hold the key to the burning question of whether we are alone in the universe. Some of the exoplanets occupy orbits around their stars that are in habitable zones. In this zone, these planets may be able to host water, which is crucial to life as we know it. Astronomers have had to resort to using indirect methods to search for exoplanets because of the lack of powerful telescopes to image them directly. However, with the JWST...
See? Like you can't have one of these beautiful big telescopes, angelic telescopes. Like, you don't have that. You will never have that. You're too stupid. You're dumb. You're insignificant. But the state does, and the state knows what's best for you. So the state's going to tell you how reality, happens in the heavens, because they have this direct connection, but you don't.
These researchers finally have what they need to study exoplanets in great detail. One of the exoplanets is Proxima B, and many surprises may be in store for the scientists when they finally train the JWST on it. So what's going on over at the exoplanet? Proxima B is fascinating for many reasons. It is the closest planet to our solar system, even though it is 4.2 light years away from the Earth. It orbits the nearest star to our Sun, the Alpha Centauri. Proxima B, which is about 1.3 times the mass of the Earth, orbits Proxima Centauri at a distance 1/10 that between Mercury and the Sun. However, because the red dwarf is more than 600 times dimmer than the Sun, Proxima B may actually lie within its star's habitable zone, and thus may contain life. However, one of the many details that remains unknown about Proxima B is its diameter. This means that astronomers cannot calculate its density, making it impossible to say for sure what the exoplanet is made of. Proxima B completes one orbit every 11 points.
See right there? See what I mean? They sit there and they throw like some shit to give you poor globeheads some type of hope. I don't know how this would give me hope at all. Like, but you globeheads, for some reason, look up and you're like, yeah, like hopefully ET's out there or some shit, or hopefully the Kryptonians are out there. Hopefully, hopefully Superman's out there, and he'll come down and save us. Like, this is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. And they're like, and then in the end they're like, yeah, but we don't know what it's really made of. The density. We're not even sure of the density. We're like, God damn it. Like, these motherfuckers are so like gravity.
2 Earth days. As a result, it's likely that the exoplanet is tidally locked, meaning it always shows the same face to its host star. For comparison, Earth orbits about 93 million miles or 150 million kilometers from the Sun. Proxima Centauri fires off powerful flares, and the planet experiences a much higher dose of high-energy X-ray radiation than Earth does. Proxima B may one day receive visitors from the Earth, although
it probably will. And then they're like, yeah, there's terrible X-rays that are deadly and shit. Like, well, how would something survive in it? These fucking idiots.
Will most likely be an emissary and not humans. Scientists and engineers announced the $100 million Breakthrough Starshot project, which aims to develop the technology required to accelerate tiny, sail-equipped nanocraft to 20% the speed of light using powerful lasers. Take note of the name Breakthrough, because you will hear more about it later in this video. Breakthrough Starshot team members said they hope to launch flotillas of such postage stamp-sized probes to Alpha Centauri eventually. Spacecraft traveling at 20% the speed of light could make the trip to Alpha Centauri in about 2 decades, instead of thousands of years for conventionally powered probes. When the Breakthrough spacecraft arrive at Proxima B, will they find aliens waiting for them? Turns out we have been receiving signals emanating from Proxima Centauri, which raises many possibilities. It all started with a strange signal picked up by the 64-meter Parkes radio telescope in Australia while it was observing Proxima Centauri. Astronomers were using Parkes to catch radio emissions from powerful flares shooting off the star. The detection was made by a $100 million project called Breakthrough Listen, led by Andrew Simeon from the University of California, Berkeley, and funded by tech billionaire Yuri Milner under the umbrella of Milner's Breakthrough Initiatives. The goal...
Did you guys see that? That right there, that asshole right there, that's one of the central bankers and shit.
This multi-year endeavor, which began in 2015 with a star-studded announcement attended by Stephen Hawking and other space science luminaries, is to buy observing time on radio telescopes around the world to search the skies for evidence of technological civilizations. That pursuit is more commonly known as the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI. Using Parkes, the astronomers had observed the star for 26 hours as part of their stellar flare study. But as is routine within the Breakthrough Listen project, they also flagged the resulting data for a later look to seek out any candidate SETI signals. The task fell to a young intern in Simon's SETI program at Berkeley, Shane Smith, an undergraduate student at Hillsdale College. Smith began sifting through the data until he stumbled upon the curious narrowband emission, needle-sharp at 982.002 megahertz, hidden in plain view in the Proxima Centauri observations. From there, things happened fast. It's the most exciting signal that we've found in the Breakthrough Listen project because we haven't had a signal jump through this many of our filters before, says Sophia Sheikh from Penn State University, who helmed the subsequent analysis of the signal for Breakthrough Listen. Soon the team began calling the signal by a more formal name, BLC-1, or Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1. Although the press reports are unclear on exactly how and when Parkes detected the signal, it apparently showed up during 5 30-minute periods over several days, all while the telescope was pointing directly at Proxima. Breakthrough Listen uses a technique called nodding, where the telescope will spend a period looking at a target and then an equivalent period looking elsewhere in the sky to check that any potential signal is truly coming from the target. In 5 of the 30-minute observations over about 3 hours, we see this thing come back, Sheikh says, a hint that the signal indeed originated from Proxima Centauri or some other deep space source in that part of the sky before making its way to Earth. Notably, when the telescope was turned away from the star, the signal vanished. Ultimately, the signal's origin appears tightly constrained within a 16-foot wide circle, roughly half the size of the full moon, around Proxima Centauri on the sky. Breakthrough Listen employs software filters capable of rejecting the cacophony of signals originating from Earth or Earth-orbiting satellites to isolate those coming from deep space. But this transmission was unlike anything the project had previously encountered. Team leader Andrew Simon told Scientific American that it had some particular properties that caused it to pass many of their checks and struggled to explain it. Most curiously, it occupies a very narrow band of the radio spectrum, 982 megahertz specifically, which is a region typically bereft of
Maybe they have 6G out there. Maybe Proxima B has like 7G.
Transmissions from human-made satellites and spacecraft. We don't know of any natural way to compress electromagnetic energy into a single bin in frequency, such as this one, Samian says. Perhaps, he says, some as yet unknown exotic quirk of plasma physics could be a natural explanation for the tantalizingly concentrated radio waves. Speaking on the significance of the discovery, Jason Wright, a SETI-centric astronomer at Penn State University in Pennsylvania, said, "If you see such a signal and it's not coming from the surface of Earth, you know you have detected extraterrestrial technology." While work is still ongoing to analyze BLC-1 to confirm whether it came from aliens, nothing stops scientists from turning the JWST on Proxima B. What is interesting is that some scientists have been trying to determine if the new telescope will be able to detect artificial light, which is a definite sign of civilization on Proxima B. Working on the assumption that aliens on the exoplanet would use LEDs similar to what we have on Earth, Eliza Tabor of Stanford University and Abraham Loeb of Harvard University concluded that if the artificial night-side illumination of Proxima B reaches 5% of the natural day-side illumination, JWST could detect the artificial light with 85% certainty. Let's hear what you think of alien life on Proxima B.
Wow, that was a total waste of time. I have no reason to listen to this and be like, "Oh, that's awesome," or yeah, that it's totally true. There really is life up there. Like, no, there's no reason. Everything he says in the end, like, he'll start off like trying to give hope, and then in the end, he's like, "But then it doesn't work." Like, that's totally ridiculous. Did we go over this black hole thing? I'm thinking we did. Discoveries. We just don't want to talk about. Last year was a horrible time for everyone. That we should go over that documentary on a separate one. More breakthroughs. Oh, what's that? 14 hours ago. They keep talking about the
future has begun. A few days ago, a new chapter in modern space research was opened with the high-profile launch of the James Webb Space Telescope. In today's video, you can find out which ambitious goals the scientific successor to the Hubble telescope is aiming for within the scope of the planned mission and which complex instruments will be used to achieve them. Want to learn more about groundbreaking research missions and exciting discoveries in the universe on a regular basis? Then remember to subscribe to Simply Space and click on the bell to stay up to date from now on. Feel free to show us with a thumbs up that we can keep you engaged with the content.
All right, you know, even if let's just say hypothetically, if I were to believe like, oh yeah, they're floating around out there, and what? So you get in a metal container, and you're floating out there. Then what? Give me something. What does that do for me? How does that help me, my family? What's going on? They go up there, they're floating in a rocket, right? They're floating in a rock or an ISS. Then what? How does that help anyone at all? They spend like $2 billion to get out there, and then what? Nothing happens. It's totally stupid. It's a waste of fucking time and money and effort and totally bullshit. There's nothing spectacular about none of this. Okay, you don't get anything from floating around. Unless you like, oh yeah, they can see everything from up there. And like, look, you sky worshipping status and globetards. All right. Show me your mythical astronaut sky daddies. Look up into the sky. Point them out, please. There's no different from looking up and believing that there's an angel that's looking down upon you, as opposed to some guy in a diving suit looking down upon you. That is ridiculous, guys. That's really ridiculous. They're like, yeah, they're up there right now. And what? What are they doing? Well, they can see us. Like, come on, that is so stupid. Show us your mythical astronaut sky daddies looking down upon humanity, please. Do go ahead. Are they like saints? Because you guys act like they're saints or some shit. Like, yeah, they're floating up there and they're totally heroes. Like, why are they heroes? Why would they be heroes? Oh, because they're floating up there. You know, they're brave. Brave about what? What? They're supposedly floating in a metallic container, and they're doing what? Nothing. It's nothing. It's totally stupid. All it is something floating up in the sky, and that's as stupid as an angel floating, or as stupid as Superman or Green Lantern or one of these like superheroes that comes from or Thor, who's a mythical god. None of that. I have no reason to find any of that to believe that any of that is even true. Like I don't see that as spectacular. I don't see that as even interesting. I think that's stupid. I think that you would be in a stupid box floating around out in a void of a vacuum, in a void of nothingness, hoping you don't die stuck in a box. Come on, that is dumb. There is nothing incredible about that. That is not heroic.
Of our videos.
Let me smoke some weed. That's spaced out, bro.
James Webb Space Telescope. While many people across the globe were still busy digesting their holiday meals, the employees of the renowned space agencies were able to enjoy a very special Christmas present, the successful launch of the James Webb Space Telescope on December 25th at 9:20 a.m. local time. The time had come from the European spaceport in
Jesus Christ, did they really do this on December 25th? Oh God, that's horrible.
Peru, French Guiana, The complex technical equipment on board an Ariane 5 rocket left our blue home planet. The Space Telescope, which originated from a cooperation between NASA, ESA, and CSA, is currently on its way to its intended target position. Arriving in its target orbit 900,000 miles away from us, Webb is expected to help unravel some of the greatest mysteries of the earliest universe. Provided all goes according to plan, the $10 billion Space Telescope, named after former NASA Administrator James Webb, will provide glimpses of the cosmos' earliest stars and galaxies, probe the atmospheres of alien exoplanets, and conduct a host of other significant research over the next 5 to 10 years. Although Webb has not even reached his intended destination, NASA personnel are already expressing euphoria. For example, the current administrator of the U.S. Space Agency, Bill Nelson, has spoken of how the knowledge to be gathered during the mission will be simply overwhelming. By deciphering numerous cosmic mysteries, it's hoped that our understanding of the universe will be elevated to a completely new level. In detail, the Space Telescope is described as by far the most complex piece of equipment ever developed by experts. And just this development phase looks back.
Did you guys see that? That doesn't even look like the other one from the other. That was a totally different type of cartoon image from the last cartoon that we watched. It's like they can't even get the cartoon straight.
Already on a history of decades. A bumpy start. The foundation for the recently completed launch of the James Webb Space Telescope was laid more than 3 decades ago. Back in 1989, a group of experts gathered at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore to discuss a theoretical successor to the Hubble Space Telescope. Given that Hubble had not even left Earth at that point, the astronomers' push at that time may seem somewhat premature. But in fact, the design of highly complex space telescopes takes an extremely long time, which is why even today, researchers plan their projects several decades in advance. The detail involved in Webb's construction phase become clear when we consider that more than 10,000 people were involved in the realization of the new space telescope. When Hubble finally set out into the vast expanses of the universe in April 1990, the experts soon discovered to their own regret that the mission was going anything but according to plan. The first images that Hubble transmitted to Earth were virtually unusable due to their blurriness. These complications, occurring at the beginning of the ambitious project, would eventually cast a negative shadow on the development of the Webb telescope. As a result, the experts initially focused their attention on repairing Hubble rather than on designing its successor. 3 years, 1 corrective optic, and several replacement instruments later, Hubble was ready for use. Now it was time again for the experts to take a look at the future of space exploration. The experts soon agreed that Webb should devote himself to an exciting topic, the study of the earliest universe. In the mid-1990s, Hubble had produced a view of the cosmos that reflected what the universe looked like a mere billion years after the Big Bang. The future space telescope should be able to penetrate much deeper into the past of the universe, perhaps even into that era when the first stars and galaxies were formed. Further complications. Applied to reality, this ambitious goal meant that Webb had to be optimized to identify and analyze infrared light, a drastic difference from the Hubble Space Telescope, which operates primarily in the optical and ultraviolet wavelength ranges. Specifically, the optical and ultraviolet emissions from the very first stars and galaxies have been stretched so much by the unchecked expanse.
Infrared is pretty much what they use on the old school remote controls for television. That's what infrared. It's literally, you can't see it, right? So what these guys are saying is they want you to believe in some ghost that only they can see thanks to their technology, their angelic, heavenly contraption. So stupid.
Of the universe that they present themselves to us today in longer infrared wavelengths. Infrared light spreads out much better than its higher energy counterparts, as it can pass through the dust and gas clouds in the universe more easily. At the same time, the new space telescope would have to be large enough to collect and analyze enough photons from the gigantic depths of space. As a result, Webb was to be equipped with a 25-foot wide primary mirror, which was subsequently reduced in size to 18 feet. The basic design of the highly complex instrument was already largely complete.
18 feet. 18 feet. Isn't that 666?
In 1996, the optimistic estimates at the time were that the construction of the space telescope would require about $1 billion, with Webb entering service in 2007, a hope that, as we know, would not match reality. By 2010, for example, the cost had already risen to $5 billion, while at the time, Webb was scheduled to leave our blue home planet in 2014 at the earliest. In 2011, however, the ambitious undertaking faced an all-time low. At that time, the Budget Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives toyed with the idea of putting the construction of the space telescope on hold. Fortunately, thanks to the indignant counter-arguments of some renowned scientists and influential politicians, the government did not stop funding.
Wow. Are you guys listening to this political stupidity? Wow. Listen to what they're saying. It's a big old scam is what they're doing. And they extended it. They kept extending it. They made $10 billion off of this, you guys. Do you guys comprehend what a scam is? They made $10 billion. That's not even counting all the other, programs that they supposedly got going on. They made $10 billion off of this crap, and we're watching a cartoon. They made $10 billion to show us cartoons. Wow.
The most powerful space telescope in history. Meanwhile, the lofty goals Webb is expected to achieve in the course of its mission come with some conceivably demanding requirements. The space telescope's scientific instruments must be kept enormously cold, since their own heat emissions could mask the faint infrared emissions that Webb is supposed to detect. The target temperature at which Webb is to perform its service is about -364 degrees Fahrenheit. To ensure this extreme cooling, the experts are relying on two different components. One is a sun shield consisting of 5 layers, about the size of a tennis court.
Look at all you tinfoil conspiracy theorists. Are you glowing? You're like, no, you guys don't wear a tinfoil hat. You guys wear a whole goddamn tinfoil suit. And you build tinfoil contraptions. And you pay billions of dollars for that crap.
The other is the intended position of the space telescope. According to this, Webb will perform its work from the so-called Lagrange point L2, a gravitationally stable location outside the Earth's orbit. What makes it special is the fact that Webb will always remain in line with the Earth.
Okay, see right there again. Space-time is flat, and the solar system is a flat disk, and it has an edge.
There, as it moves around the sun. In this sense, our terrestrial home and its moon serve as additional shielding for the space telescope from the sun's incoming rays. However, since the corresponding target point, with a distance of 900,000 miles, is too far away from us to be reached by astronauts, manned surfacing missions, such as those still completed with Hubble, cannot be carried out in this case. The telescope's main mirror, which will only unfold in space, is composed of 18 hexagonal segments. These, in turn, are made by beryllium, which has been coated with a thin layer of gold. Together, the mirror weighs 1,378 pounds, making it more than 771 pounds lighter than Hubble's one-piece primary mirror. The photons that Webb's mirror captures, meanwhile, are studied by 4 scientific instruments: the near-infrared spectrograph, the mid-infrared instrument, the near-infrared camera, and the FGS-NIRISS spectrograph. This technical quartet will enable Webb to detect cosmic objects 10 billion times fainter than the faintest star we can view with the naked eye in the firmament. In terms of this, Webb's capabilities exceed those of its predecessor telescope by a factor of 10 to 100. In the process, the new space telescope will be able to make details the size of a dime visible from a distance of 25 miles. The mission goals. After all the previous delays and cost explosions, Webb has finally arrived in space. Before the Space Telescope transmits the first groundbreaking observation results toward Earth, however, patience is required. From the time of launch, Webb will take about a month to reach its intended destination. Even before the Space Telescope reaches the Lagrange point, L2, the first exciting step awaits the earthly experts, the deployment of the solar shield. This endeavor is scheduled to take place in the first 7 days after launch. Meanwhile, the 140 release mechanisms, 400 pulleys, 90 cables, and 8 deployment motors will at best seamlessly interlock. Unfolding the 18 mirror components is an equally challenging task for experts. For the Space Telescope to be launched as planned, the mirror surface must be aligned to an accuracy of about 6 millionths of an inch. To put this in perspective, a strand of human DNA has a width of about 1 billionth of an inch. Assuming that all these preparations go smoothly, it will take another 6 months before all of Webb's systems and instruments are fully operational. According to current plans, the Space Telescope will begin its actual research mission in the summer of 2022. The core objectives of this exciting mission include the search for the first stars and galaxies that were formed after the Big Bang, and the subsequent so-called Dark Age 13.5 billion years ago. But the main scientific tasks of the Space Telescope also include the investigation of structure-forming processes in the cosmos and the study of the formation mechanisms of galaxies, stars, black holes, and planetary systems. Ultimately, Webb will also examine exoplanets for their atmospheres and potential habitability. Now it's your turn. What do you think about the successful launch of the James Webb Space Telescope and its exciting mission goals? We're already looking forward to your comments. Want to read more interesting articles about space? Then take a look at the other videos on our channel, which we have linked for you in the credits. Thanks for your interest. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Shut up, sucker. That shit was so dumb. That they like literally told us that they're running a big old scam and they're giving us cartoons over that shit. And look at this dumb shit right underneath in this one. A journey beyond the boundaries of the universe. That looks like a dome. Hey, you globe heads, show me the dome. Do you even science, bro?